It's time for the Game Show Fans Podcast with Josh and Danny.
Good evening and welcome to the Game Show Fans Podcast. I'm Danny Lewis. With me, as always, is my co-host,
Josh McLeod.
And our two guests today are first our more semi-regular panelist, who is...
X-Factor Gaming, sorry about the call.
We got a cough there. And next to him is our other occasional guest.
You're the dude behind the Burger King.
Right, also known as Comedy Fan 74. And on tonight's episode of Game Show Fans Podcast, we will be talking about a game show which just recently celebrated its 20th anniversary, which is Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yay! Everybody!
Yep.
How did no one shout that on the show?
So in this episode, we're going to take you through a timeline of the whole lifespan of the series, because we feel that it's necessary, and not other game show podcasts have done this. Well, Jordan's did an episode about it, but I don't think they went through the whole timeline in an extensive way. As we
I think he and Cindy just did the hosts.
Okay, well that's good.
The original title of this was going to be The Rise and Fall, and I think it will still be applicable, but...
Yeah, it'll still be The Rise and Fall of Millionaire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so Millionaire started out in 1999. It was based off of a format from a UK game show, which started about a year before 1998. And as Rich told, as we all know, there was a contestant in the UK version who pretty much coughed his way to the top, for lack of a better word. Yeah, Charles and his just a side note.
Top of the cops.
Top of the coughs, yeah. Anyway.
And long story short, he did not get the million.
No, he did not. Not after the IRS and FBI con out of him. So.
He was also forced to leave the military too.
Yeah.
Dishonorably discharged.
Back to the States. The original title for Millionaire was Cash Mountain, but they decided to go with Who Wants to Be a Millionaire because that was the name of a popular Cole Porter song. And it started on ABC in August of 1999, and let's let Josh take it from here.
They were originally going to call it Strangers in the Night, but that title of that Cole Porter song didn't really work, so they went with Who Wants to Be a Millionaire because that was the better Cole Porter song. So it premiered in 1999 on ABC, and at the time ABC was not doing so well in the ratings charts. They didn't have much in the way of top 20 television shows. NBC was really killing at that point. I mean, they had, like, Seinfeld had just gone off, but they were still...
They had Frasier.
Frasier
was very successful.
They had News Radio, Friends.
Friends was the big one. What other? There was other. And ER was just starting, so they were really killing ABC. And ABC tried a lot of experimental programming around that time. And Millionaire really, was never meant to be the saving grace of the network. I mean, they certainly weren't against it being that, but they didn't buy it with that in mind. They just bought it just because at that point, when you're at the very bottom, you try new things. And when Millionaire...
They were desperate, basically.
Yeah, and Millionaire was the saving grace for the network. That really launched them back into the stratosphere of television. Because when it premiered, it took a few episodes, but there was really nothing like it on television at the time. There hadn't been a game show... Okay, there had been a game show like it. There hadn't been anything like it since the quiz show scandals.
Right, it was pretty much must-see TV at the time for ABC.
And I think
what's up?
Did ABC use that must-see TV? For some reason...
that was NBC.
NBC had a copyright so nobody else could use it.
What was ABC? I know they had something. They had
TGIF.
Well, no, they had something like TV You Must Watch or something like that.
Oh, I don't know about that.
They had some kind of catch line. I mean, I'm sure all the networks had something, but for some reason I have this vague memory.
This is the same ABC that ran the Chamber, if I'm not mistaken. Or the Chair, one of them.
Chamber was Fox, Chair was, I think, NBC.
Oh,
No, I'm pretty sure the Chair was ABC after Millionaire was canceled.
I think that was more in response to Weakest Link than Millionaire. Maybe I'm wrong. But, I mean, it was a huge thing. People watched the show. This was something people talked about around the water cooler at work. This was something that people talked about the next day at work. It was that big. Not everybody, hyperbole, but still, like, a large portion of the market was watching that show. You know, it was because there was nothing like it. And do we want to talk about the format? In case you're one of 9 people that doesn't know the format of the original Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Yeah, let's talk about the format. It's
pretty basic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they start you out in the fastest finger thing.
10 contestants.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Which a funny moment again from the UK version was there was a question about put the lights in order of the way they appear on the actual traffic light. Nobody got it right. Chris Tarrant actually made a joke that said, "Don't let these people give you a ride home."
Right. So the fastest finger format, they gave a question where there would be 4 correct answers, and the contestants on a keypad would have to put them in the correct order in the fastest time. And the person that did that got to go in the hot seat and play actual Millionaire. So the format of Millionaire is to get 15 trivia questions ranging from $100 to $1 million, and increasing difficulty, and you get 4 choices. You get 3 lifelines. One of them is 50-50, where you can take away 2 wrong answers, leaving you only one wrong answer, and then the correct answer. Then phone a friend with the very good technology of AT&T, you can call your friend and ask them the question, which that lifeline kind of got taken over by Google towards the end of its run. But
phone Google is what they were going to call it, but couldn't get the copyright.
And then ask the audience.
Where they
John
hold the audience.
Carpenter actually kind of sort of abused the phone a friend lifeline. The whole, I don't really need your help. I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to win it all.
Yeah.
Basically, he trolled the hell out of his father on national TV.
He trolled the hell out of Regis. He trolled the hell out of everyone, pretty much.
He trolled a lot of people.
I was sitting here thinking, that's not very nice.
Well, that was like
keeping a straight face.
And that was that was the moment, I think.
Yeah, he was the very first millionaire.
He was the very first millionaire, and that was the moment. That was the talking point. He went on. Think about this is how big Millionaire was, ladies and gentlemen. He went on Saturday Night Live. Wasn't he like the host? Did he host it, or am I remembering that? Or was he just
I think he probably just appeared in a skit. I don't think he.
But still, even then, some random game show contestant, which is what he was. He was just a random guy. Got to be on Saturday Night Live. Think about that. That's how big this show was.
And Today Show.
And Today Show and some other stuff.
Well, I mean, I've been on the Today Show. Who cares?
Really?
But no. Although they should.
Yeah, we should all be on the Today Show for the Game Show Fans Podcast Host exclusive interview special.
I hope so. I'm sure that the networks are dying for that. But Millionaire was huge. It was talking. I remember Dan Blonsky when he won. That was the talking point. If you weren't there for it, you have no idea how big this show was. It was such a far cry from what happened later, which we'll get to. But it was huge. It was massive. And
during its run on ABC, they had various celebrities appear on the show or to play for charity, including Norm Macdonald, Charlie Sheen, Meredith Vieira, and Alec Baldwin, just to name a few.
Think about that.
And Lars Ulrich, Gene Simmons, Jon Stewart,
and Huey Lewis.
Sean Combs, Layla Ali.
The 3 of those would go on to host their own shows. Layla Ali with the American Gladiators, and then Baldwin and Vieira ironically with Millionaire herself.
Right. Wouldn't that be coincident, not irony? Irony would be a discrepancy. Oh well. But yeah, it was huge. It was huge. You had Sean Combs on there. What other game show is going to have Sean Combs on it?
Family Feud.
Okay. Maybe. Was he on?
Was he on Family Feud?
He might have been.
But again, they got top tier people. These weren't like, D-lit. You know how they're like, oh, it's celebrity. What was the show? There was like it's celebrity edition of
Match Game has all D-listers.
Match Game, where it's like,
I wouldn't say that.
And it's a celebrity edition, which is why we have Rosie O'Donnell, who no one, even though Rosie was on.
Did you say you say Rosie O'Donnell, Josh?
Yeah.
She was on Millionaire as well.
Yeah, I remember that. But this was back when she had the talk show. Like, now she's really irrelevant.
Oh, okay.
Like they've been really trying to bring her back because she's like anti-Trump, so people are on her side. Even though if you look at it, there's really nothing likable about her other than her name isn't Donald Trump. But it was huge. But these celebrity shows, which were probably the show's undoing, I think, in the long run, because they were done really to boost ratings, and it just again, the show. Do we want to talk about the fall?
Well, yeah, we're going to get started the fall. It was canceled on ABC around the summer of 2002 because of oversaturation, apparently.
Yeah, well, they were airing it like 4 times. Was it 4 times a week?
They were doing it like 5 times a week.
Yeah, they were airing it way too much. And if you read Adam Nedeff's book, he didn't write it about Millionaire, although he probably should have. Mark Summers, who had nothing to do with Millionaire, but he makes a valid point, which is, had Millionaire not been aired, had it only been aired once a week, it might still be on today.
On ABC, that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I agree with him.
He makes a damn good point.
Yeah, because again, it was so oversaturated, they were airing it every week, and so you kind of got to a point where you're like, do I want to watch yet another episode of Millionaire, or do I want to watch... What was Millionaire up against? Does anyone remember what it was in the time slots?
Greed was on there.
No, I mean directly opposite it.
It was on that. It was Greed and Millionaire at that point, wasn't it?
No, Greed was on Friday night. What was Millionaire opposite?
CBS had Winning Lines in 2000.
No, I mean, what was on at the exact same time on the other networks?
2002.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, though.
Okay, so it's like you can watch Millionaire or you can watch, I don't know, whatever the hell is on, Frasier. Like, most people are at that point are like, well, I don't need to watch yet another episode of Millionaire, I'll just watch Frasier.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it did spawn a lot of copycats. Do you want to talk about the copycats?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Sure.
No, we don't have time. Anyway, so it was oversaturated, but ABC has definitely bounced back from that today because they have several very successful game shows, but they only show once a week. So, Josh, I'm trying to imagine seeing Match Game with Baldwin 5 times a week.
I would imagine there'd be a lot of suicides in this country.
But be thankful. Okay.
Although Pressure Luck 5 times a week would definitely work.
No, it wouldn't.
I'd rather have I don't want to go to a topic, but I'd rather have a syndicated 5-day Pressure Luck instead of a network.
Yeah, exactly.
Regis Philbin hosted Millionaire on ABC from 1999 to 2002. Did a great job.
And he fought for that job. He really wanted it. It wasn't just like some guy that was thrown into that role. Which
anybody know who else was offered the role?
I think he was really the only one they had in mind. I think
so. There was no one else trying out or what have you.
I'm trying to remember who else tried out. For some reason, I think, and I know he did 21 later. For some reason, I have in my mind Maury Povich may have been approached, but I don't know for a fact.
Had 21 already been canceled by that point?
21 wasn't even on the air at that point.
I believe. Yeah.
I thought it hadn't debuted yet because I think it debuted in 2099.
No.
Yeah.
All those shows came in response to Millionaire after the fact.
Yeah, but 21 was gone by the time Millionaire was on ABC, I think. But that's okay. Now let's move on. So instead of when the ABC version was canceled, the producers were like, "Let's keep this going. Let's make a syndicated version of Millionaire." And they did, and in September 2002. Premiered in syndication with a new host, Meredith Vieira, who had previously been on the celebrity version as a contestant. But
and it was pretty much identical.
Only without the fastest finger first.
Correct.
That is right.
Thank you, Dylan. And the questions were a lot harder, a lot quicker, but we can save that for later.
Yeah, Meredith Vieira hosted it for a long, long time. She did a great job, I think. And so from 2002 to 2004, things were basically, it was pretty much the same show other than no fastest finger. They had the same money tree, same lifelines, whatever. They had Regis had about $7 or $8 million wins.
9, I believe.
9, okay.
8. And, no, I'm sorry, it was 8.
It's okay.
Yeah, I believe it was
9.
8.
9. 9. I mean, there were 9. I just did the math in my head.
8, 9.
3.
Anyway.
Around 8.
Around 8. 7 3/4. How about that?
4.5. Pie. And the game show host who came closest without going over is Dylan. All right, congratulations, Dylan. You get to come up and play the pricing game. There were 9.
Let's see. So they. Okay. So don't get confused here, guys. There were only 2 millionaires from 2002 to 2004, and that was pretty much the end of it. Forever, for good.
On the syndicated version, yeah.
Right. And so anyway, let's go to in the spring of 2004. ABC decided to bring back Millionaire for just a few weeks as a new thing called Super Millionaire. Anyone want to talk about that?
I guess I could, since that's most of what I saw.
Okay.
Basically, it was the same show except the dollar values were jacked up, and it was only intended to run 10 episodes, which I guess in retrospect it did its job.
Well, and the questions were significantly harder than the questions on the original version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Yeah.
And it had like 2 or 3 more lifelines in it.
That's correct.
Yeah, but let's see. The grand prize on Super Millionaire was not just $1 million; it was a whopping $10 million.
And I believe it was. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that was the first show to offer a $10 million prize.
Right. And nobody ever won it.
Well, no one came close.
Yeah.
The
farthest anyone ever reached was the $2.5 million question.
Correct.
I bet you Jennings could have won it all if they'd asked.
I doubt it.
I don't know.
They had him on. No, we'll get to that later.
So yeah, let's talk about these new. Well, let's see. The money tree was higher for the first 5 questions. Were worth $1,000 to $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
And but Dylan mentioned these new lifelines, so let's talk about those. After you got past the first 2 levels or the first 10 questions, you would be awarded two new lifelines. One of them was 3 wise men, where you talk to 3
smart people.
3 former millionaires.
No.
Sometimes. 3 experts over the big screen, and some of these wise men included some very notable people, including previous $1 million winners such as Joe Trila, John Carpenter, and Nancy Christie, and Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Mm-hmm. Think about that. You have an astronaut, a nuclear physicist, and a Washington Post columnist, and you're going to ask them a question about condoms.
I'll get to that. Yeah.
Maybe one of them knows it. Who knows?
And no, I don't think any of them knew
No.
it, but they guessed the right answer.
Yeah.
I think. And then the other lifeline you get is double dip, where if you choose to double dip, you get 2 chances to answer the question right. If you do your first chance, answer, they say it's wrong, you get another chance, but you have to go through it. That you can't just walk away in the middle of the double dip.
At that point, you are committed to answer.
Right.
That was actually a good idea to me.
Yeah, it's a good idea. But also, some of the things you could manipulate with that is if you had been smart enough to keep the 50-50 until that level, you could do the 50-50, then do the double dip, because there would only be 2 answers.
That was what bugged me about a lot of contestants. They blew the 50-50 way too soon on questions they should have already known.
Okay, Mr. Smarty Smart. Let's give you a question and see if you knew the answer to it.
Hold on. Okay, we'll do that.
Okay,
anyway, so when Josh was talking about the condom thing earlier, because he was, that's what he's obsessed with.
It was I was not the one that chose that as the first $500,000 question of the new era on the show. That was all on the producers. That's all on them. Todd Kim.
Todd Kim, he was the first player to ever be on Super Millionaire. His first $500,000 question was a question about the first condom commercial airing during what show. He asked the 3 wise men, they gave a guess, and then he double dipped and it was great. So.
And then the very next contestant is our big $1 million winner. But I think the big flaw with this show is no one is ever going to go beyond the $1 million question.
I think it was good just for being a miniseries, and it's good that they tried to do anything.
Yeah, I think they would have if it had been a hit, but again, if the numbers don't justify it, you don't do it. So.
And I think it's good for ABC's sake that no one actually won the $10 freaking million.
Well, it would have been a huge ratings boost, although it would have cost ABC a lot of money.
Yeah, like that would have been. It would have been great for television, but it would have been just awful for the people.
Yeah, I don't think it would have bankrupted the channel. Just a lot of money to give out.
$10 million. It wouldn't have bankrupted them, but that again, I can see who was the head of ABC at that time. Not Eisner.
It was Eisner, actually.
The head of ABC programming. I don't want to see Mike Eisner's
Eisner was the head of Disney. I'm not sure on ABC.
At least, yeah. So I don't know who the head of Disney was, but I don't want to go to work the next day if someone was $10 million and he's there saying like, why the hell did we just lose $10 million? So. But
yeah, Regis. It's important to know Regis was brought back for the short run, and that was it.
Yeah.
For Super Millionaire. So then let's go back to Normal Millionaire for the third season of the syndicated version in 2004. This is when things kind of started to change. They didn't necessarily go bad. Things just started to change in gameplay, just a little bit though. The money values and the questions started to become a bit more round numbers, as in $32,000 question that became $25,000, then $64,000 became $50,000, $125 became $100. And then after the first 10 questions, you would get a new lifeline. It wasn't Three Wise Men nor Double Dip, but it was a new lifeline called Switch the Question, where if you didn't like the question you got, you could change it for another question.
Have we actually gotten to Vieira's version yet? Because I just thought of a few random incidences.
That's where we are.
That's where we're at right now. We're in season, but we're only at season 3. We're not at the time clock yet, so.
Let me know when I can talk about my random incidences that happened on that show that I remembered.
Okay.
Keep going, Danny.
So yeah, Switch the Question. I thought it was an okay lifeline. I mean, it didn't really hurt the game any. What do you think of it?
I thought it was good. It had a very, very obvious flaw in that, unlike the other ones which helped you with the question, that one really sort of negated the question.
It was just basically a chicken out.
And thus gave you another question, so it really wasn't helping you. It wasn't helping you with the question. It was sort of avoiding the question.
Yeah, sometimes you could get screwed and give you a worse question, or sometimes it would give you a new question with something you knew about. So it was all pretty much luck, I think, when it came to that lifeline.
What do you think about the money amounts changing?
I mean, it was fine. I didn't really care.
I think they were fine, yeah. That's how you change money amounts, show. It's not like this bull crap they're doing on... That's how you save money, not the bullshit they're doing on Pyramid now, but go ahead.
On what?
On Pyramid, where they're doing things like... Where they're having categories like things that are exacerbatable. Yeah, like anyone's going to give you words on that.
Didn't the writers on Pyramid even spell exacerbate?
No, I don't know that the writers on Pyramid even exist. So...
Tonight on Josh Bitches about Pyramid.
Go ahead, Danny.
Yeah, but nevertheless, despite the changes of the money and the new lifeline, this era of Millionaire still has many memorable contestants, including John Castellano, Jeff Gross, Ogie Ogas, and Lynn Payne.
And this is where we get questions, like, we get a lot harder, a lot quicker. Like, a question that on the original version would normally have been valued about $500,000 would now be valued at like $50,000.
And Josh, is this where your Crosby, Stills, and Nash and Young question came through?
No, it comes from the PC game.
Oh, okay.
So the very first time I ever won the $1 million playing the PC game of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, the question was, who is the youngest member of the band Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young? Crosby, Stills, Nash, or who's the oldest member of Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young? Crosby, Stills, Nash, or Young? Let's see if Rich knows that. Let's see if smart guy Rich knows that.
I would go with probably Young or Crosby.
No, Crosby.
It was Crosby.
Crosby.
Yeah, Norm Crosby was the youngest member in that band.
No, he was. David Crosby. You imp.
Even I knew that. I knew who David Crosby was.
It wasn't Bing Crosby either.
It wasn't Bing Crosby? Oh, that was going to be my next guess.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, 2004, 2008, Millionaire, still a good show, still good in ratings, yada, yada, yada. Now let's go to the next part of Millionaire, which is, most people know as the clock era.
Well, in the clock, apparently, from what I've been told by Dylan, that the clock was there before, we just didn't know it was there. It was off screen, right?
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
Basically, it was there in case of an emergency where a contestant would take about 30 minutes to answer the question, and then just be like, "Oh, hurry up!"
Because there was a contestant on the Regis version who took 51 minutes to answer a question.
Is that Regis's account there?
Yeah, that was Regis during the Regis era.
51 minutes.
Yep.
Did he say that in like an interview?
He said it in an interview, and then he said that she got it wrong. And I think I know which contestant it was, but I'm not saying.
It also happened once on the Meredith version, in which that clip was kind of viral. So go check that out.
That was not real, Danny. That was something someone edited.
Despite, even if the title cards of later and much later, even if those were fake, the clip is still known to people as, "Oh yeah, that's the lady who took so long to answer the question."
I'm actually curious how long she did actually take. Whatever. Go ahead, Danny. The clock. We're getting to the clock.
Yeah, this is when a lot of people started to have problems with the show. Starting the game, they introduced a clock. They introduced a few new things. They introduced the clock, where questions 1 through 5 you'd only get 15 seconds to answer. Questions 6 to 10, you'd get 30 seconds, and then questions 11 to 14, you only get 45 seconds. And then the $1 million question would be 45 seconds plus all the time you saved from other people. Anyway, Rich, what did you think of the clock era?
There was only, I think, both of these contestants that I want to talk about were from Meredith's clock era. I'm not sure, but there was a question about, this is like one of the very first 5 questions. It was like, what does Denny's call their biggest breakfast menu?
No, this was in
whatever it is.
No. This was pre-clock, and this was a $4,000 question.
And then she lost by not giving the right answer when it was Denny's, and she knew it later on.
She said she meant to say Grand Slam, and she said something else, and I was like, "Oh no, I said final answer," and then like, "Yeah, sorry."
And then Lovey You, probably the greatest contestant name I've ever heard.
I should change my name so I
uses
can
an
get on the
ink
game show.
sac for defense. We all know this is a squid. I think she said octopus.
She said owl by accident. She said it, and she immediately realized what she did afterwards.
It was like $100 question?
That was the very first question.
I never saw that clip.
Oh, it's on the internet. You can find it pretty easy. I actually remember.
It's been on a few game show highlight reels too.
One of my favorite clips that isn't on there, and I hand to God this happened, is in the Meredith era where this guy says, "I think it's either this or this. I'm going to use the 50-50." And he uses the 50-50, and it leaves both answers, and he just looks at it.
That happened to like everyone.
No. Here's the best part. He looks at it and goes, "Shh," and he like realizes what he said, and Meredith's like, "Well, there's something we can't put on the air." They bleeped it, obviously, but
are we gonna bleep it for this episode too?
Probably. We'll
Yes.
probably have to bleep a few things Josh actually did from it.
That's okay. So yeah, the clock. They also got rid. Rich, you said you were mad they got rid of 50-50 at this time.
Yeah, that's a well-known. That was a well-known lifeline.
We get a new lifeline. We get a new lifeline and an old lifeline refurbished. We get.
You got double dip. They replaced 50-50 with the double dip. They couldn't have both of them because they probably thought people would manipulate it, you know.
And then and also the time factor.
The way to avoid that is you could just like say you can only use the 50-50 or the double dip. You can't use them in combination.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could make a rule like that's enforceable, but I think they wanted. Obviously, they didn't want. And then the other one was
Ask the Expert, which is kind of a derivative of Three Wise Men, but you don't know.
It is Three Wise Men, basically.
It's one wise man. They pull up a Skype. They pull up a Skype chat with someone who's supposedly smart, and they ask them the question, and they're allowed to give their opinion on the question.
How many of them actually missed the answer?
Quite a number.
I saw an episode, I just got it in a trade, there was a question about which of these Jonas brothers just got engaged, and she asked the expert. The expert was Ken Jennings, and he didn't even know it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about another facet of why the show's going downhill. We're starting to get questions that are things that tangible humans aren't going to know. Like I remember,
don't care about.
Well, I remember a question. One of the questions they had was, which of these is not a method by which the United States Postal Service delivers mail? Hovercraft, submarine, Sherpa, or rocket? And it's like, no one knows that. Even people who work for the post office don't know that. How many?
I would assume it'd be submarine.
Another one. Here's another one. How many Social Security numbers have been issued since they started? Like, no one knows that off the top of their head. And we're only going to give you 40 seconds to come up with an answer?
I think they were trying to get... It was more of a guess question. They didn't need an exact answer, sounds like.
No, it wasn't. They didn't want it to the one, but like no one even has a good estimate of how much it is.
Now, Josh, didn't you say they also included these more brain teaser questions, kind of like Russian roulette's first game?
Here's another question to get you really off of your mind. How many states in the United States have the word "new" before their name? So, if I said, give me every state that has the word "new" in front of it, you have an infinite amount of time. Take your time. Like, you can come up with the correct answer. If I say, you only have 20 seconds, starting now, can anyone come up with the correct answer? Think of all the states that quickly.
I've got it. If you were actually looking for an answer, I've got it, I think.
There's New Orleans, New Zealand, New Delhi,
No.
I'm kidding.
Okay. It's New York, New Jersey, New Mexico.
Wrong.
Okay, what did I miss?
New Hampshire.
I knew it was either 3 or 4.
You see, and that's the kind of these questions. And then another one, which is, which of these acronyms also has an acronym, has a word in its acronym that is also an acronym. So you have to know what the words in the acronym.
That's redundant.
You have to know the words in the acronym, and you have to know other acronyms that aren't present. The capital of what country is contained in the word mosquito? You gotta know, not only do you need to know twofold the capitals of all 4 countries, you also need to know... What?
It's Moscow.
No.
What is it?
Quito, which is the capital of... Does anyone know?
Ecuador.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So you have to know that, and you have to know that. So they designed the questions specifically to be difficult when the clock is counting down on you.
They just wanted to save money on contestants, I think.
Yeah. But that's the era when it starts. This is the beginning. It's not the end of... It's not the end. We're not saying it's dead yet, but it's definitely beginning this point where we're starting to realize the show is not what the show is not what it used to be. And before
basically, the show is 1 foot in the grave, basically.
It started.
I wouldn't say that.
Basically, the nails in the coffin are just about to get nailed.
I wouldn't say that. Maybe that might be your.
They've gone. How about this? How about this way? How about we put it this way? They've gone coffin shopping. That's where we're at.
Okay.
They've jumped the shark, unless that happened ages ago.
That probably happened with Super Millionaire. But anyway, personally, I enjoyed the clock. I mean, I know why people didn't, but the game was exciting.
That being
whatever.
Yeah, that being said, I didn't. We're not to the point we'll get to later where it's literally just, is this show even still on? The show is still a facet.
I have to admit, I missed the entire clock era. I've just seen highlights.
It was not bad. It was not terrible. It still was Millionaire. It's still. Can we agree on this? It's still Millionaire at this point.
Yeah, it's just still.
Even if the clock, from everything I've heard, the clock should not have even been there.
Basically, the clock format is just the producers saying, "Come on, hurry up. We don't have all day."
Well, and it's also designed to get more contestants as well as prevent wins, because it's very difficult. It's easy to come up with some of those answers.
Well, did it do its?
It's easy.
Did it do its job?
Yeah, we never had $1 million winner other than when they basically rigged it, but that's a little bit later.
Okay, so in 2009, Regis Philbin came back to do the 10th anniversary special of the Millionaire Show.
And do we know why they did this 10th anniversary? Not because it was the 10th anniversary. There was another reason they did it.
Well, what was it?
There was this little movie that came out called Slumdog Millionaire that became the talking point of the country for a while because it was so big. And that was the impetus for doing the 10th anniversary special.
Oh. So the Slim Dan Millionaire was the reason for making a 10th anniversary.
Slumdog Millionaire.
Did you really think the movie was called Slim Dan Millionaire?
No, I just like
Okay.
hearing Slim Dan Millionaire.
Okay.
Because
Slim
people
Dan.
that know-
Go ahead.
People that know me in real life are gonna hear this and be like, "Oh, that's funny," because that was kind of my
It's a little
nickname.
insider joke.
It's an inside joke. Anyway,
Slim
So, yeah,
Dan Millionaire is the movie where Danny goes on the Indian version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and wins $30.
yeah,
$30 in Indian money.
I think
Give him the benefit of the doubt. It was-
I think
You know what?
This might fit, but the Amanda Show even parodied Who Wants to Be a Millionaire,
Yes,
Who
yes,
Wants to Win Five, So You Want to Win $5.
Everyone parodied Who Millionaire. Simpsons,
that's
Saturday
why
Night
it was a
Live.
great show. And
Family Guy.
Family Guy parodied Slumdog Millionaire too. But
The Simpsons parodied everything. They've even parodied Jeopardy.
of course. Anyway, before
Way
we
too much.
Yeah. The
But
10th
yeah,
anniversary.
that's what I should call my autobiography, isn't it? I was a Slim Dan Millionaire.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came back. He was in fine fashion. It wasn't quite like Richard Ross in 1994. He was still really very good as he was in 99. But anyway,
But
one
it's
of the
still
What's
used the syndicated format. I know we're going to talk about him in a minute, but it still used the syndicated format. It wasn't.
Right.
Does anyone else think that was odd? Like I remember thinking that at the time, like that. Like why are they using the syndicated format and not the
Yeah, it's
original?
like,
Yeah,
why
that-
not,
that's
why not use the
always
original,
bugged me.
the one that got you over in the first place?
Yeah,
That's always bugged me.
yeah. Why would you do this and have they brought back Fastest Finger, but they didn't bring back the original format? I don't get it to this
right,
day.
they kept the clock, they kept everything else, and one of the problems with that is because you'd only get 15 seconds to answer the first 5 questions, and Regis would usually take about 10 seconds to read the question and the choices, so you didn't get much help there.
At least they should have brought back the original Money Tree.
Yeah, I
The
don't
original
really.
Lifelines, too.
Yeah, I don't really care about the money tree there, but
Yeah,
the
the-
lifeline stuff.
Dylan, did you not like it when they changed the money tree in season 3?
I did like the change.
Okay.
I like the change.
When
'Cause
did they start throwing in the bank rule, where your bank had to hit a certain amount before you could go for the big money?
That's
We're
not for
there
a while.
yet.
We're not there yet. But yeah, do you want to talk about the moment, the big moment on this version?
Yeah, a lot of memorable moments happened when Regis came back, but one of the most.
I disagree with that. There was one moment.
Oh, well, the saddest one was Ken Basin going for the $1 million.
Yeah, because he did something that no one had ever done up to that point, and it was kind of surprising no one had ever done it. But still, he was the first person to ever miss a $1 million question on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
And the question was about
I know.
LBJ.
Yeah, I know it verbatim. LBJ had 4 buttons put in the Oval Office so he could get his favorite beverages on command. One button said coffee, 1 button said tea, 1 button said Coke. What did the 4th button say?
Probably milk.
Fresca,
It was,
V8,
Yoo-hoo.
no, Fresca, V8, Yoo-hoo, or A&W. It was one of those 4 choices.
Ken thought it was Yoo-hoo based on
It was
the audience.
A&W, I bet.
But
No, it
but,
was
but
Fresca.
It's Fresca.
it was actually that was really the biggest nail biting moment.
I agree. I would argue that was the most. No one else even came close. Again, because of the clock.
So no one ever lost the $1 million question except that guy?
Up to
Before
that
him,
point.
nobody else had. There was like one person much later, but yeah, he was the first person to ever do it.
Yeah, he was the first, and really the only person to lose $475,000 on Millionaire. Like, it'll happen again, but she didn't lose She only lost 75. But that's later. And unfortunately, the ratings for it were not that great.
Yeah, so then they did. So they had the 10th anniversary special, and then shortly after this, they got rid of the lifeline that we all love, no one loved, Phone a Friend, because
Phone a Friend. I think, Danny, as much as that, I think we need to have a moment of silence for Phone a Friend. Phone a Friend, you are gone too soon.
Yes, they got rid of Phone a Friend because everyone pretty much knew by like maybe 2005 that people just used it for the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, Meredith thought, well, when most people use this lifeline, what do? They get Mr. Internet. So, and we feel that's unfair to because some people have access to a computer and others don't. So,
and this is real. In this, for me, as far as I'm concerned, this is actually the Tournament of 10 happened first, but I guess we can skip that. This is the moment where it becomes apparent the show is just trying to save money.
Right.
To me, honestly, this is the moment. This is the problematic moment in the show's history. Much more than the clock. Because now we have 3 lifelines. You have Ask the Audience, which is worthless after the first 5 questions. Maybe even sooner. You have Ask the Expert, and half the time the expert is some comedian who's not necessarily... And again, I mean, Chuck Nice, I'm sure he's a smart person, but he's not, a genius. He's not an astrophysicist. And then the third one, which is Double Dip, which you can only, by using, you are now required to answer the question. So really, you have 3 useless lifelines.
Pretty much. Honestly, though, I think it was smart for the people to get rid of Phone a Friend, because people are just going to use the internet anyway. And this year, in 2019, it would be obvious to use the internet. Maybe in 2000, 2001, not so much. But
I don't agree that it was smart, because people were using... It is no secret. People were using the internet back on, season 1 of the original series.
Sometimes, not always. Though.
Not always.
There was nothing in the handbook that said the Phone a Friend can't use the internet?
There was no rule that said that you could not use any outside resources. The only rule was... I'm sure there were some other rules, but there was no rule that said you can't use any outside resources. And often you'd have multiple people in the room. I've heard this from people who were contestants. They would call... I'm going to call my friend Saul, and Saul would be there. And Saul would be in a room with 6 other people. So... Phone a Friends was the better name of that lifeline.
I never saw a moment like that where there was 6 other people.
Well, we never saw it on the show, but I think it was
David
Goodman's.
I think I would have laughed if the U.S. version had taken a punch at Tequan Whitlock and all those guys and said, you can use a lifeline, and this new lifeline is called Cough Your Head Off.
No, I don't. That would be funny, but no, we never had a cough gate on our version of Millionaire.
Thankfully.
But yeah, after this they did, not before that, they did a tournament of 10. Basically, they got 10 big winners to answer the $1 million question. Only one person was confident enough to answer and do it correctly. That was Sam Murray. He was technically the last $1 million winner ever. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not technically. He won $1 million. So.
And then what, Dylan?
And then it began the slow, painful path Millionaire take it for it to go off the air.
And now, we get to the... Danny, do you want me to do it, or do you want to do it?
Why don't you do it?
We get to 2010, where the show gets pretty much a complete overhaul. I don't think it's...
More shuffle!
I don't think it's inappropriate to say this is a complete overhaul. I don't know who made the overhaul decision, but... So, we get... Instead of 15 questions, now there's 14 questions. The first 10 questions all have dollar values ranging from $100 to $25,000. The difficulty of the question and the value of the question are shuffled randomly. They've removed the hot seat, which I think this, to this day, I don't get why they got rid of that chair. I think that's the biggest blunder that they ever made. More so than Phone a Friend, and more so than the shuffle. I think getting rid of that chair was the biggest blunder. I cannot. Go ahead.
Yeah, without the hot seat, it's pretty much not Millionaire.
I can't think of any reason why you get... Because, again, this is the moment. Now, this is the moment. People will say it was the clock. No, this is the moment when we realize, okay, this show is not what it used to be. Because it truly is not what it used to be.
And they went with a completely new music package, which most people didn't like.
And a new graphics package. Not as bad as the later graphics package, but still a new graphics package.
But these graphics were pretty good.
It was okay. I didn't hate it. It had kind of the little fireworks thing, but it's a new show at this point. It's a different show.
Yes, and it only got worse. Pretty much. Meredith Vieira left 3 years after this format was in place. Then they got Cedric the Entertainer. He hosted from 2013 to 2014. This is when they had another woman. What's up?
And do we know why they got Cedric the Entertainer as the new host? Because
Man, he wasn't the right fit for the show.
no, do you know why they picked? No, do you know why they picked him to begin with?
Because Steve Harvey.
Correct.
Steve Harvey on Family Feud was getting huge.
Yeah, this is Steve Harvey just started. Kind of the Family Feud was just coming back in a big way, and everybody wanted to copy. Well, maybe not everybody wanted to copy it, but they wanted to copy that success, and so they wanted a black comedian host, and Cedric the Entertainer was who they picked. Not realizing that Millionaire is not really the buffer for that.
Correct.
Yeah, I think he'd have done better on like a Hollywood Squares or such things.
Yeah, because Millionaire is more of a serious show and Cedric's a comedian.
Yeah, and this is which is a big problem, and we're really underselling. I don't know how well we're stating it, but that's another massive problem with the format. Is we're Millionaire, which was once a very serious show, is now being treated like a kiddie show at this point, or like Price. It's become like Price is Right at this point. Which Millionaire was never.
Like modern day Price is Right?
Yeah, I don't mean modern day. I mean, it's becoming like, hey, let's have fun, let's do this. Oh boy, here's questions.
It basically became just another game show.
It removed I'm sorry, Danny, to interrupt you. It removed the drama. There was no drama at this point.
It removed the drama.
And that's a big no-no for Millionaire. You need that drama.
At this point, it was just another game show. It wasn't. There was really nothing that kind of made it stand out from all the others.
Correct.
Unfortunately.
Other than the prize amount, which was ridiculous because no one was ever going to win the prize. So.
Correct. But only one lady lost it again, but she didn't lose $475,000. How much did she only lose, Josh?
$75,000.
Okay.
Which
and that was.
I don't know. Would you go for it?
I don't know.
I wouldn't. I didn't blame her.
I wouldn't go for it.
Risking 75, you would have or you would not have?
I think it depends on the question.
The question was, I don't remember all the answers, but in his thesis, Nostradamus wrote. No, not Nostradamus. Was it Nostradamus?
I don't know.
It was either Nostradamus or Confucius. I don't know why. Nostradamus wrote about, along with his end of times proclamation, Nostradamus also wrote an extensive chapter on what subject? Digging graves, teaching parrots to speak, canning jams and jellies, or developing gliders.
Did she have any lifelines?
No.
Then I'd quit.
Danny?
But I don't know. But she went for it, and yeah,
she went with digging graves, and she was wrong.
What was the answer?
Canning jams and making jams and jellies.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, Cedric hosted it for 1 year. Then the next year they got a new host, and it was Terry Crews. I thought
from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
And everybody hates Chris.
And this is the point where I begin to say the words that a lot of Americans were saying at the time. Is that show still on?
Let's see. At this point, for me, I was upset about the format changes and all, but I enjoyed Terry's work on other stuff. So I'm like, I'll watch it. Maybe it's a.
Terry was better than Chris Harrison. Let's say that much.
I don't know about that, but I think it was with Terry. It was here's what I think. With Cedric, the show was just drowning just a little bit. With Terry Crews, it was just floating above water again, only a little bit. But it was the case of bad format but good host.
And they were filming in Connecticut by this point.
Right, and so yeah. But one thing about the shuffle format is the clock is long gone, so that's one thing they got rid of there.
And they're standing, looking at which I guess we'll get to when we get to the end of this. My experience trying out for Millionaire.
Right. Yeah, they're just standing with the question. Yeah, you're not sitting down. Yeah. And not too many notable things happened, but Ken Jennings did appear on the Terry Crews version, and he won $100,000.
Yeah. Again, going to point out the difficulty level of the questions, which were massively difficult to figure out because they were still. So they got rid of the clock, but they're still using these questions that are. Now we can't do the brain teaser questions, which require you to think quickly. Now we can only use questions about information that is so obscure no human could ever possibly know the answer.
Yeah. And what were the new lifelines they had here? Didn't they have
they had the jump the question, which basically, and the ask the audience, which, as I pointed out, was worthless. You had two jumps, which you could jump any two questions you wanted. Which, again, sort of goes against the spirit of the show.
Very much.
So if somebody wanted, they could jump to 500,000 and go straight to the million.
Which is what she did. She jumped to 250 and 500,000.
Oh wow!
So
that's cheap.
Yeah, and those were difficult. No one knew those ones.
Can I talk for a minute about how I would have done that lifeline?
Yeah,
I mean, you can. Yeah.
It works as normal, but let's say if you use it, we have to reduce your winnings.
Well, that's what the idea of it was, because what we didn't talk about was those 10 questions with random amounts. It wasn't like you could quit and walk away with that amount of money. That money was added to a bank that you would only get.
I hated that format.
That you would only get if you answered the 10th question.
I hate that format. I have always hated that format.
Well, and again,
that's a big kick in the balls.
That's like I said. This is when the show is not Millionaire anymore.
No, Dylan, it's not like that. It is being kicked there.
So yeah, after Terry Crews left the show went another change. They brought back the original format, in essence, and they had a new host who was Chris Harrison.
They did not bring back the original format. They brought back something vaguely resembling the original format.
Right. They still had 14 questions. Did they still have all the jump the questions?
No, not by this point.
No, but they got rid of the jump the questions. They brought back the 50-50, and in place of the phone a friend, they did the +1.
Yeah, +1 is where you can bring one of your friends with you in the studio, and then they come down and you can talk out the question with them.
So it's basically a live phone a friend.
Right.
More or less, yeah. But he can stay there till the question is over. There's no time limit.
There's no time limit, and I thought it was a nice modernization of phone a friend.
I like the idea behind it.
I like the idea behind it. Go ahead, Dylan. I'll let you go first.
In my opinion, it's like in this day and age, it's way better than phone a friend.
I like it
because you know that friend can't whip out his phone and Google the answer.
Yeah, they can't do that.
I like it in theory, and I will explain later why I don't like it. But a big thing that happens around this point, or actually it had happened earlier. It happened probably when they did the format change. We start getting these woo contestants. And do we all know what I mean by woo contestants?
Not exactly, but I might have an
We
idea.
get contestants where they're not really smart contestants. They're not smart. I mean, they're not dumb, but they're not people that have a vast wealth of knowledge. They're people where it's like, I'm Joe. I'm a millionaire. I want to win this. Woo! Or
basically phony idiot contestants.
Yeah, phony idiot contestants. People that are gonna get up and be like, "Oh my god," which is a big problem. So we start getting these questions where here's an example of a moment on Millionaire. We have the question, "How deep is a golf hole?" It's worded a little bit longer. Is it 4 inches?
Gonna know that.
Is it 4 inches deep? Is it 4 feet deep? Is it 4 miles deep? Or is it 4 light years deep? How deep is a golf hole? 4 inches.
First, light year isn't even light year is not even a measurement of that kind of distance.
And instead of getting people that go up there and go, "Oh, it's 4 inches," of course, we get people up there that go, "Well, I don't think it's light years because that's a distance of time and not a distance of not a measurement of distance. 4 miles doesn't seem right because, like, just say just say, well, it's 4 inches. That's the only thing that makes sense. Final answer. Instead, we get these questions we get these people that spend 6 minutes on an easy question, and it comes off very fake and very phony and very much like someone off camera told you to spend as much time on the question as possible.
Yeah,
we don't know that. It could have happened that way.
It didn't. This was constant. No one thinks that is so unnatural. No one thinks like that. No one acts like that naturally when they're presented with that situation.
Yeah, Josh knows. Anyway.
I know and the reason I know was because I auditioned for Millionaire when it came here during the last season.
I'm pretty sure that when the contestant was doing that, the producer was just trying not to shout, "For Christ's sake, could you just answer the?"
No, I think that the producer's the one that told them to do that.
You never know.
No, I do know the producer. Because that's who they were casting at that point. They were casting.
So they were. Oh wait, no. Tell us who you were up against. Who were you up against? Like in the booth, in the stands.
I auditioned for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in 2018. So last year, I auditioned for last season, and I think this was in April of last year. And here is my experience. And this is going to come off as me bitching. I'm not complaining, although I'm sure it comes off that I did not get picked to be on the show. I'm complaining about the process. So I didn't get on. Oh, well, my life will go on. I'm complaining about how the process worked because they have 2 people who are like okay, are we all ready to try out for Millionaire? Which they're all like that, I'm sure. Okay, here, we're going to give you get up and say something about yourself and say what it is you do. And we're going to give you a test with 30 questions. And so they give us all this test with 30 questions that are the kind of questions you would get on the show. I probably shouldn't say what the questions are because that's probably libelous because I remember some of them.
Yeah, that's the exact kind of format they did when I tried out for Sports Jeopardy.
And but here's what happens. So we take this test. The guy next to me is a PhD. The guy in front of me was a sports expert who won a lot of money on some show in the 90s. I can't remember what it was called. It was on ESPN. Does anyone remember any game shows that were on ESPN around that time?
2 Minute Drill.
2 Minute. Was that in the 90s?
Well, it was either that or something called Stump the Schwab, maybe.
I don't think it was.
That was mid 2000s.
I don't think it was Stump the Schwab. It was
continue.
Some game show. There's a guy there. Behind me, there is a African American Vietnam veteran working as a crossing guard, and up in front of me there is a news anchor woman who used to be a cheerleader. Take a guess who got cast and who did not get cast.
The Vietnam vet.
The Vietnam vet did not get cast. I obviously did not get cast. Whoop-de-doo. The PhD did not get cast. The guy who had been on ESPN did not cast. The cheerleader got cast. That's what they were going for. They weren't going for people that knew the material or people that could win. They were going for people that would get up there and go, woo, I know it's not A because oranges are orange in color and apples are red, so kiwi, I'm not sure what a kiwi is, so I'm going to go with nectarine. Final answer. That's what they were going for in the casting process of Millionaire, and I'm sure that I don't think I'm ruining anyone's delusion of the show. They were going after contestants who were going to get up and go, woo, or oh my god, and not contestants that actually could win the $1 million. And that's really kind of a sign of how bad Millionaires that is really kind of the point home of why the format is dead at this point. It is dead. And we're not even talking about it being canceled. Like, this is not Millionaire.
This is like a parody?
It's like if you got drunk one night and described Who Wants to Be a Millionaire to an alien. This is what you would get.
That's what you get.
Yeah.
So
this.
episodes of Harrison's first season, maybe second, I'm not sure. They aired on GSN from late 2016.
They still make the rounds on syndicated stations now.
Yeah, I was at the Eye Doctor and they were airing it there, so wow, Wednesday.
That'd be a bad place to watch Millionaire. But anyway, how about
those episodes are probably not going to last in syndication much longer. When it becomes like 2020, it's done.
Harrison is just flat out boring. I don't much like him at all.
I thought Chris did a fine job because he's more game show hosty than any of the...
Did he have any previous hosting experiences?
Well, he hosted The Bachelor. This little show called The Bachelor.
He hosted Mall Masters on Game Show Network back in 2001.
And I actually
before I had GSN.
And I actually liked Mall Masters, but yeah.
I thought
is that a GSN original show?
I think it was syndicated. I thought it was syndicated. Like, I'm sure I know GSN aired it, but I thought it was syndicated. It doesn't matter.
I don't know. So yeah, I thought Chris Harrison did a fine job because he was more game show hosty than Cedric or Terry combined. Yeah. But at this time, it was just like, what, Millionaire? Like, people would say, hey, did you hear Millionaire got canceled? And you're like, that show's still on?
That was, Danny, we're not joking. Like, you tell people Millionaire's been canceled.
20 years.
The reaction, but for 5 of those years, I think most Americans didn't even know it was still on.
I'm shocked it's still on.
And not that they were avoiding it. They were just like, that show's still on?
Because like, in my market, it was on an obscure syndicated station at like 2 in the morning. So when I heard that Millionaire is still on, I'm like, it is? I don't even think I get it anymore.
In our affiliate, it would air on the NBC affiliate, and originally it aired at 4:30. Then they moved it to 3:30, and then they moved it to like 1 p.m.
We where I am, we get on, I believe it's KXVA, which is the Fox affiliate. Weird time, 11 in the morning. Last time I checked.
I mean, there aren't. In its defense, there aren't very many good syndicated game shows still on. There's like nothing. I mean, like, do you remember the Deal or No?
Besides Family Feud, there's Family Feud.
That's true. I'll give you that. But like up to that, yeah. I mean, like people really thought some of these syndicated shows would last a lot longer. Like, do you remember there was a syndicated Weakest Link? Maybe we should save this for another topic.
But with George Gray.
Yeah, and there was a syndicated Deal or No Deal, which, surprise, surprise, Deal or No Deal was never really a strong show to begin with. So in syndicated, it just died. But we'll talk about syndicated stuff later. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, Millionaire. It reruns of the Harrison version aired on Game Show Network from late 2017 to mid 2018, and that was pretty much my only experience seeing those episodes.
And that's. I'm sorry, Danny. I keep interrupting you.
I think that's it. But what are you going to say, Josh?
And that's really the sad point about Millionaire is that this show was massive. We are not exaggerating when we say this show was everywhere.
Millionaire is legendary.
It was No, it was legendary. It was huge. It was like people were talking. It was must-see TV, although I guess it wasn't technically must-see TV because NBC owned the rights to must-see TV. But it was, you get what I'm saying, it was something that like everybody watched. It was this huge thing. To cut to 20 years later, it's like people, we're not exaggerating, you tell them the show's canceled. You get up and you say the show's been canceled. Yeah, the overwhelming majority of people, the overwhelming majority of people will say that show was still on.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, I thought it got canceled in 2004.
And the thing about those changes about the shuffle format, I'm aware of the 4 opinions of the people here. Do you know of anybody that legitimately liked the shuffle format?
If you do, please comment or give us a like on Twitter.
If you did, you're pretty much drunk.
Did anybody out there prefer the shuffle format to the original format?
I didn't see that. I don't know if I saw that format or not.
No, you did.
That's where they shuffled the questions.
Yeah.
The first time I saw the shuffle format, I only watched Millionaire for like 7 minutes, and then I changed the channel.
To sum up how I feel about the fact that during the shuffle era, the questions were all random difficulty. I'm going to use an angry video game nerd quote here. I think he was either talking about Mega Man or he was talking about Silver Surfer, but he said that challenge should in this case, challenge should be given to the contestant in increments, not all at once. And I'm going to add to that by saying, and it should not be randomly shuffled. It should go up in increments and just stay steady.
So, and that's really the big problem with the show, is it wasn't what it was. It's like going to your favorite Mexican restaurant, but it's owned by new people.
It's owned by people from Spain, not Mexico.
Yeah, it's like going to it's like going to your favorite restaurant as a child, only now they serve Korean food instead of Mexican food.
So yeah, in May 2019, the final answer aired for good, and so yeah, and now it's time for the next segment on our show. Let's fight.
That's right, and with our new theme music, we introduce our segment, Let's Fight! The many games of Takeshi's Castle, the segment that's totally not a rip-off of someone else's segment. On this week's episode, we are going to be talking about Clue of Love. In the UK, it was called Brat Sack, was never featured on MXC, and appeared in exactly one episode, episode 42. In this game, played specifically in a parent-children episode, all the children are tied up inside bags with only their arms sticking out. On the whistle, the parents have to find their own kid without being able to look into the bag. Once they think they've found their own child, the parents must take the bags across the finish line. Only when they are across the line can they open the bag and hopefully let their own child out. This game did not have any BGM, did not have any background music, which is why you're not hearing any music right now other than our obvious open theme. It was played once in episode 42. And fun fact, the crew were pretty sure that some parents would pick the wrong child, but in fact, every single parent picked the correct bag that contained their own child. Ultimately, I think that's probably why this game was only played once. You know, it wasn't a very visually appealing game. It was kind of interesting to see parents of bigger children have to carry their kids across the finish line. Some of them would actually drag, and some of them would carry the bag across like a backpack. Ultimately, the game would never be featured on MXC. If it had been featured on MXC, it's fun to think, what would it be called? I don't know. We can't call it Sack Lunch because they already did that. In the Sack, maybe? Big Sack? I don't know. Viewer, what do you think we should call it?
Okay, so yeah, Millionaire. It was on 20 years nonstop, pretty much, and but not many game shows that are actually, yeah, they can't say that.
Price, Jeopardy, and Wheel come to mind.
Right, but yeah, Millionaire has been canceled, and since the 20th anniversary of it is here, already people are saying, "Oh, I hope it comes back in a good way." Meanwhile, I'm like, it was on for 20 years.
I love it when people. I love it when something is on for a long time and then it's canceled and people get mad. It's like, it was on for 20 years, people. That's 20 years longer than most shows get.
You know, I have to point, I don't know if I should point this out now because it has nothing to do with Millionaire, or if I should wait until we're off to do it, but
just wait.
Millionaire is not the only show with an anniversary coming up this year, next month actually.
How can we forget about the anniversary we can't forget, guys. We have to remember and celebrate of the Tom Green Show's 20th anniversary.
Not what I was going for. 30th anniversary of American Gladiators. There's talk that it might actually come back for the 30th anniversary.
Who cares?
Well, we can talk more about that once we stop recording. So yeah, people already I see on Facebook, they're like, "Oh, I hope it comes back, but if it does come back, it has to be the original format," and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, it was on for the last 20 years, and I don't want to see it for another 20 years. So if it comes back,
I agree with that.
I'd agree with that.
I'm with you on that.
Thank you. So yeah, that's Millionaire, and I think we're pretty much done. Thank you very much for listening. This has been the GameStop Fans Podcast. We'll see you in 2020. Until then, I'm Danny Lewis.
Yo soy Josh McLeod.
And this has been X Factor Gaming.
I'm Glitcho.
And remember,
it's hard to see the end when you're beginning.